Hi everyone, welcome to the Applying to Essex talk. My name's Lisa Briggs and I'm from the Undergraduate Admissions team, and I'll be taking the talk today, so hopefully you'll find it really helpful. If you have questions as we go along, you can use the chat function to raise them. I hope you find out something interesting today that you didn't know. So this talk will cover who we are as an undergraduate admissions team and how we can help you, UCAS, so what UCAS does and how it works and how to make your application through UCAS, what you should include in your application, and a kind of vague application timeline as to when things might happen and in what order they will happen. So the undergraduate admissions team at the University of Essex can help you in a number of ways. We can provide information about courses that we offer. So hopefully you might have already taken a look at our website. We've got a course finder on there that you can use to find our undergraduate courses. You might have seen we offer courses in a range of different subject areas, and we also offer different types of courses. So a lot of subject areas offer degrees with a year abroad or a placement year as part of them. And some departments also offer integrated master's courses, which are 4 years in length. So please do take a look on our course finder if you haven't already. But if you've got any question about any of our courses, then you can contact our friendly undergraduate admissions team. The undergraduate admissions team are the ones that process the applications. So once we receive applications from UCAS, our team will take a look at the application and make a decision on the application. So we're the point of contact if at any point you want to know what's going on with your application and what stage it's at. So how do you actually apply? So you might well have heard of UCAS, which is the Universities and Colleges Admission Service. UCAS manages the undergraduate applications in the UK. All universities and colleges in the UK that offer higher education provision will take applications through UCAS. They also offer kind of more general support on getting into higher education. So if you haven't already, as part of your research, it would probably be worth looking at the UCAS website for not just the course listings, but also any kind of general advice that they have, information booklets and things like that about just kind of going into higher education. At UCAS, you make one application and that goes to up to 5 choices. So that can be 5 different institutions, or it can be 5 choices at 1 or 2 different universities that you know you want to go to. You can use those 5 choices however you wish. You don't have to use all 5 if you don't want to, but it means you only have to submit your information once, and your application will go to all the different 5 higher education providers that you've listed. UCAS also help you to track your application online using UCAS Track, which is really handy just to see when you've got updates from universities with decisions, and you'll also use UCAS to reply to your decisions when it gets to that point of the process. So to access UCAS, you just go to their website. It's really easy. You use UCAS Apply, and you can just start completing your application. You don't have to do it all in one go. You can start inputting your information and save it, and then go back to it at a later point and just submit it when you're ready and you've been able to complete all of the fields that you need to. So in terms of what information you need to provide for your application, so you'll need to complete the personal details fields, such as address, your nationality, those kind of details on UCAS. You'll need to give an education history, so the full history of your kind of secondary education, the schools or colleges that you've studied at and what qualifications you've studied there. You will need to provide your employment history. So this is especially useful for us if perhaps you've been out of education for a while, or the employment is very relevant to the course you've applied for, then we particularly would like to know about this in those circumstances. But even if it's just a small part-time job that you have alongside your studies, it's still really interesting for us to know about. So just please do complete those fields in full with all the information that you have. You need to provide a personal statement and a reference as well, and we'll talk about what should be included in those, as I know particularly the personal statement is something that in undergraduate admissions we get quite a lot of questions about, with prospective applicants being a bit unsure about what they should provide. So we'll try and give a little bit of guidance about that. The main part of your application that we'll be looking at is your qualifications. So on UCAS, you should list all qualifications completed, regardless of whether you think they're relevant or not. Please just list them anyway. Even if you didn't pass the qualification, you should still list it, just everything that you've completed. You'll also list qualifications that you've not yet completed, so anything that's pending, anything you're studying at the moment. So a lot of you may be in your final year of high school study, and you'll just list your A-levels or whatever qualification you're taking as a pending qualification, just so we know that although you may not meet the entry requirements at the moment, you are taking qualifications this year that will allow you to meet our entry requirements. English language. So if English is not your first language, we may require you to take an English language test, such as IELTS, or another test that we accept to provide proof of your English language proficiency. If you've already taken one, which a lot of applicants already have, then please list it on your application. But if it's not something that you've kind of looked into yet, or you've got a test date pending, then don't worry, because that is something that we can include in the conditions of your offer. So you don't need to have met our English language requirements at the point that you make your application. It's also worth noting that some of our courses have subject-specific requirements at either GCSE or A-level. So, for example, our BSc mathematics courses require you to take maths at A-level. A number of our other courses require maths at GCSE level at grade C or 4 or above. And where this is the case, it will be very clear on our course finder if there is a subject-specific requirement. So just look out for those before you apply, just to make sure that you either have or you're taking the relevant subjects at GCSE or A-level. This is just a list of some of the qualifications we accept. We accept a very wide range. These are some of the most common ones that we see. We also consider A-level equivalent qualifications from EU and international countries, and we see a huge range every year. We're a very international university, and we're very proud of that. So if you can't find the information about the qualification you're taking on our course finder, then please do contact us and we can let you know what we would ask for from that qualification. So for your personal statement, the main purpose of this and the main thing that we're looking for is for you to demonstrate why you wish to study the subject you've applied for at degree level. So why it's your passion, why you're enthusiastic about it, and that should make up the majority of your personal statement. But for the remaining part, it's also useful, particularly if you haven't maybe had a standard education history, if you've had some time out of education, or there's just anything else relevant beyond just your qualifications that you'd like us to take into account, then this is your opportunity to really draw our attention to that and make the most of any relevant work experience or employment that you might have. So it's really helpful in those circumstances if you can just fill in the gaps for us about what you were doing instead of studying during certain gaps in your education, or things like that. It's also great if you've had any extenuating circumstances that have affected your studies at any point. If you're happy to share those with us so that we can take them into account of your personal statement, is a really good place to include those. And as well as why you want to study this particular course, if you're from outside of the UK, it would be helpful if you could explain why in particular you'd like to study in the UK as opposed to in the country that you reside in or another country, as we may need this information before we could issue a CAS for us to apply for a student visa anyway. So if you provide this information up front, it just might prevent us having to request it later on. So that would be helpful. In terms of a reference, so the UCAS form will allow you to have a reference added to your application. So in most circumstances, this will come from a tutor or teacher at your current place of study. And if you're at a school or college at the moment, I'm sure that your school or college already have a plan in place for providing those references. And I'm sure they're already in motion with kind of writing those, because they tend to be very organised and they've done this a lot before, so they know exactly how to do it and what's going on. If you're not in education at the moment, then you can either ask for a reference from a previous tutor or teacher via your school if you just talk to your school about it, or you can provide an employment reference from somewhere that you're working or have worked quite recently. If you're not able to provide an academic reference, well, it's just easier for you to provide a work reference instead. If you've got pending qualifications, then your tutor or teacher, whoever's providing your reference from your school or college, will also provide predicted grades on your application for you when they complete the reference part of the UCAS form. And hopefully we're just really just looking for your referee to support your application, to confirm that yes, they think you would be an asset to a university and that you're equipped to study at degree level and that they think you would succeed in higher education. So that's generally what we're looking for from a reference. So in terms of the admissions process, once your UCAS application is complete, UCAS will send it to your 5 choices, and the admissions office in each of those choices will consider your application and make a decision on it. So that decision could be a number of things. You may be invited to an interview. So some of our courses at Essex have a compulsory interview, mainly our health-related courses, such as nursing, social work, physiotherapy, those kinds of courses will require you to have an interview before any offer could be made. For 2021 entry, these will obviously be virtual interviews organised via Zoom, so you wouldn't need to come onto campus for these. Some of them also have kind of testing as part of the interview, but it will all be, if you're invited to interview, it would all be explained in an interview guide that you would be sent in advance so that you'd know what to expect on the day. If your programme that you've applied for doesn't interview, or after you've had the interview and we're communicating the outcome to you, you might get an unconditional offer. So at Essex, we would make an unconditional offer if you've already achieved your admitting level 3 qualifications, so your A-level or equivalent qualifications, and there's no further conditions that you need to meet. You would get an unconditional offer. You may get a conditional offer if you still have pending qualifications that you need to achieve before your offer could be made unconditional. So if you're studying A-levels this year, you would receive a conditional offer upon the result of those. At Essex, we also do something called flexible offers for the majority of our courses. There are a few exclusions, but most of our courses have a provision where if you accept Essex as your firm choice, then you receive a flexible offer of, so our standard offer is generally BBB, but if you accept us as your firm choice, your offer becomes CCC. Just to give you that peace of mind that if things don't go as well as planned this year, we'll be able to be flexible on the offer that we've made you. So hopefully just to take some of the worry out of that for you. If we're not able to make a decision straight away based on your application, we might need to request further information from you. If we need to do that, we'll contact you by email. So it's really important just to keep a regular eye on the email account that you've made your UCAS application from, including checking junk, because sometimes emails can go into junk folders. And it's really important that if we've asked you for some additional information, that you provide that to us by the deadline, so that we know you are still interested in pursuing your application, and so that we can get that information and progress that for you to get a decision to you as quickly as possible. And in some cases, the other decision you might receive is a reject decision if for some reason we can't make you an offer for the course you've applied for. We will only make a reject decision if we can't offer you an alternative course. So if, for example, you don't meet a maths requirement for a course, but there's a related course that doesn't have as much mathematical content, we would try to offer you that instead. Yeah, you would only receive a reject decision if you don't meet the entry requirements and there isn't a kind of closely related program that we could offer you instead. You will receive our decision both directly from the university, so you'll get an email from us notifying you that you've had a decision, and if you've received an offer, asking you to log into or set up your applicant portal, which will allow you to see your offer letter and the full details of your offer online on your portal, and also kind of some information booklets and things like that that you would need to read through. You'll also receive notification from UCAS and you'll be able to see on your UCAS track what decision you've had from all of your 5 choices and to keep track of them through the UCAS track system. So in terms of where we're at now and what you're probably doing at this moment in time, hopefully you've done, or you're still just kind of completing your research phase, which is when we'd suggest just finding out as much as you can about the different universities and courses that you're interested in. If there's a particular part of a subject that you're interested in, so like a particular period of history, for example, just making sure that the degree you're looking to apply for has either compulsory or optional modules in that area, and just researching the different types of universities really and seeing what you think might work for you. It's also a good time to attend virtual open days and things like that to get a real sense of what different universities are like and where you can really see yourself studying. And when you feel like you're ready to make that choice, to narrow it down to 5 choices, then you can start completing your UCAS application and submitting it. So it's possible some of you may have submitted it already or might be about to submit your application. As we said previously, for October 2021 entry, submit it by the 15th of January if you can, as well as making sure you meet the equal consideration deadline. It also just helps you to get a decision quicker, which is always nice to kind of know as soon as possible how many offers you've got. If you submit by the January deadline, by April you should be receiving your university decisions. UCAS does give universities a deadline to make their decisions. A lot of the time you'll receive a decision much sooner than this, but if we need a lot of information from you or something like that, then it may delay the decision slightly. So hopefully you wouldn't have to wait till April, but to get all 5 of your choices, it just varies depending on the universities you applied for and how straightforward the application process is for each of them, whether there's an interview and things like that. Once you've got decisions from all of your choices, then the control is back with you, and it's up to you to choose out of the offers that you've received which you'd like to make as your firm choice, which you'd like to have as your insurance choice, and then you need to decline any further offers that you've received. So just some things to remember. Please feel free to contact undergraduate admissions at any time if there's anything you're unsure about with regards to the admissions process or entry requirements or anything like that. You can email us at admit@essex.ac.uk. If anything changes, be that your address or the qualifications you're taking, if you have to drop a subject, anything like that, then please do let us know. It's the earlier that we know, particularly if it's anything to do with qualification changes, the better, so we can provide advice for you about whether you'd still meet our entry requirements. So please let us know directly, but also let UCAS know so that they can amend your application at UCAS. When you're submitting your application, please just double check everything, particularly your personal statement. If you kind of do it in a Word document, do all your spell check, get someone to read it through for you, just to create the best possible first impression that you can, because really that's what your application is. Your personal statement really gives a sense of how enthusiastic you are about the course, so it's not ideal to start with a spelling error in the first few words, or to misspell your own name, which has happened. So it doesn't take much time to just do a check and a double check, and it certainly really improves the first impression. Use our course finder to check whether you meet all of our entry requirements, including those subject-specific requirements that we talked about. And just kind of, if you want to know more about Essex, then come and visit. So probably virtually at the moment, come take one of our virtual tours, and you're already doing all the right things in attending virtual open days. And that is the end of the talk. So please feel free to email us or talk to us on live chat if you think of any further questions after this talk that you wish you'd asked but you didn't occur to you at the time or you forgot, and access all of our information on our website, particularly our course finder, to really hone in on what course you think you'd be interested in studying at Essex. Thank you very much. I hope that was useful, and thank you for joining us today, and stay safe, everyone.